Karate friends, welcome to Classics in Color, which is normally your weekly dive into some of the ancient world's wackiest facts. I'm Marc Graves, and today I'm taking a break to talk about classical reception, which basically just means anything that is not from classical Rome or Greece that is influenced by using recycling classical ideas. So movies, books, music, etc. that uses stuff from the ancient world. And today I am going to be reviewing, giving you just my thoughts and impressions on the HBO Rome series season 1 that I just finished this week. I'm pretty excited, so let's go. So the first thing, and maybe the biggest thing that I loved about this show, is its immersion into the world of Rome. Even if they didn't get everything right, everything historically perfect, they were definitely trying to make you feel like you were in another time, in another world. So often when you watch movies that are about ancient Rome or Greece, it feels like you're watching people from 2000s just in togas, right? It's still people from 2000s. They still talk and act and think like we do. They just happen to be wearing togas. And so it always just feels kind of hollow. And this is why I haven't ever watched Rome, is because I assumed it was just like that. I tend to not watch TV shows and movies that are about the ancient world because they tend to kind of suck. But this one did not. I was very pleasantly surprised. So the immersion comes out in all kinds of factors. For one, religion. So they are praying and cursing and participating in all kinds of ceremonies, taking the auguries. We see that happen a few times. So that I really loved. And again, it wasn't all completely accurate, but it was definitely accurate in spirit. That if you're living in ancient Rome, most people were very superstitious and praying and talking and supplicating to different gods. And we do have cursed tablets and that kind of thing. So it was really interesting to see sort of that day-to-day real life of a Roman portrayed on screen. And not just in religion, right? Slavery. I know I've talked about slavery a little bit on this channel, and when it was really weird and kind of cool in a way to see people just being slaves or having slaves in their daily life, like it's no big deal, just taking it completely for granted that they own this person or that this person owns them. And it was really weird, but again, kind of cool because it's so much more accurate than you normally see, because it's not like they're just beating the crap out of them for no reason. There's definitely reasoning and a feeling and a custom and a culture behind it all. So it was cool to see all of that. The language, so occasionally they'll say Salve and all these things that I really loved, and I'm sure people have gone very in depth on all this stuff. I'm just kind of surface level telling you my impressions of it because, like I said, I just finished it a day ago, so I haven't had time to dive deep, but I did really love it, so I wanted to go ahead and get this filmed while I was still excited about it. And then finally, the scientific facts. So, you know, that's kind of my particular interest is science and medicine and such in the ancient world. So they never went super in depth on it, but you definitely had all kinds of people reference it. For instance, after, is it Augustus and his sister? I always forget her name, but I did write it down here. Octavian and Octavia. I don't know why I can't remember it because it's exactly the same. But after they have sex, he says, you know, I can't have seated you because the moon, blah, 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 which is totally a thing that the Romans either believed or would have believed. Again, I don't remember the exact details if they got it completely right. But, and then Lucianus throws out details about stars and about gases and all of these things that are pretty close to what ancient people would have thought about the world around them. So it was very cool to see people, again, operating in the mindset of humors, of superstition, of believing that this is how science and how the world works. So I really love that. That might have been my favorite thing. So this section has some spoilers. I guess it's been out long enough that you probably don't really need that, but just in case, I'm going to be talking about things that happen in the plot. And I wasn't entirely sure how to structure the rest of this, so I just kind of wrote down a list of the characters and my thoughts on them, and hopefully that'll kind of give me an outline to then branch off of. So first we have Lucianus and Pullo, and I was kind of skeptical of them, especially Pullo at the beginning. I was like, who's this guy? But by the end, he grew on me. He was a real sweetheart, and I did like him. I did think that their plot was maybe a little too convenient. They were sort of Forrest Gumping their way around the Mediterranean to all the most important and convenient places and times possible. And it did start to bug me a little bit by the end. Although the writers did do a pretty good job of always giving them some reason why they would be there. And I understand why they needed to be there, right? Because they're trying to portray, on the one hand, the perspective of Pompey and Cleopatra and all these important people, but on the other hand, also give you that everyman perspective or viewpoint, what it would be like from just a normal Roman soldier. And you can't be introducing a new character every episode in all of these different places. You need somebody that you can follow through all of them. So therefore, Lucianus and Pullo just have to be everywhere. But again, by the end, it was starting to be like, are they going to run into Pompey? Are they going to run into Cleopatra? Like, are we going to do this again? But whatever, I buy it. It's good, so it's fine. And when Pullo actually runs into Cleopatra and they get together, I actually thought that was hysterical. That Caesar's son is actually Pullo's son, and that is totally possible. Is the beautiful thing of that is that we have no idea who that what does his name end up being? Caesarius or something like that. Cleopatra's son. We have no idea for sure who the father was. She claimed it was Caesar, but it could have been Pullo, who knows? So I did like that scene. So that was kind of worth the convenient aspect of it. Then Niobe, again, I was a little skeptical of in the beginning, but she grew on me. She was really sweet, really nice by the end. It was sad when she died, and not just in the, oh, that's sad, but in the, I don't know if that's satisfying. I think it would have been more satisfying if they'd killed off Pullo in the arena. I felt like that was a really good ending, really good closure for him. I felt like, yes, this is the ending that Pullo realistically would meet with. But then it's also true that Lucianus would probably not just watch his friend die. And there are stories of comrades in arms in the military, coming to each other's aid and then becoming very famous and very popular. So that does seem to be realistic to the spirit of the age. So again, I can't totally hate it, even though I think it just would have sat with me better if Pullo died and Niobe lived. But what can you do? Then Caesar, I thought was very good. I thought his cleverness, his political savvy, his manipulating people was excellent, and he had the powerful feeling of a Caesar. I definitely bought it, I believed it, and he was so good at all the little politics and manipulations. I just loved it, and it felt very accurate, except with him and Servilia, their relationship. He's so good at reading everybody else's emotions and playing to them, but then when he goes to break up with Servilia, he's just like, yeah, I'm done. Not seeing you anymore. Like, too bad. Bye. Slaps her. Like, come on, dude. She's a powerful woman. You don't want to anger her unnecessarily. You could have at least said like, oh, I'm so sorry. I have to do this. My wife is going to divorce me. I miss you. I love you, baby. Give her something. You didn't have to do it quite like that. And the way the show portrays it, at least, it is her that is ultimately the cause of his demise. She's the one who turns Brutus. She's the one who orchestrates the whole plot to kill Caesar. So if he could have just been a little bit more politic with the breakup, maybe he would still be alive. So that kind of bugged me a little bit. And then also his being enamored with Cleopatra, I thought that was a little awkward. Cleopatra was a little weird. I don't hate her, but it was a little weird. And then him just being instantly into her again felt like, is she really his type? I mean, he was into Servilia. But maybe, I don't know. The power of boners, right? What can you do? So Caesar, I generally thought was good, but his relationships with women were a little odd. And also, so his actual wife, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But at the very end of the season, they have a scene where they're in bed together and she's telling him about this dream and like, don't go to the Senate today, that thing. And they're in bed together and they're like cuddling a little bit and being nice. And I didn't think that was their relationship from everything else we've seen in the show. And I guess we don't see their relationship that much, but it seemed like they were distant, like it was just a working relationship. I was surprised that they were sleeping in the same bed. It didn't feel like that relationship to me. So that felt like a bit of a switch there. Mark Anthony, I really liked. I liked the actor, liked his face, liked how he portrayed the character, that he was a little bit bolder, a little bit brasher than Caesar. He liked his wine and his women, and he was just kind of a bull in the china shop a little bit, but he also wasn't totally stupid. He had some brains about him. The one thing that bugged me about Anthony, which is probably silly, you'll probably disagree with this, is I just kept thinking he's kind of skinny. I always picture Anthony as being like kind of a buff, like a frat bro, like a bro. I picture Anthony being a bro, and he just felt like a little too skinny for that. I wanted him to bulk up a little bit more, but that's just me. I loved Brutus. At the beginning, he's a bit of a throwaway character. You don't see him that much. But by the end, his whole just pain and his tortured soul and his difficult decisions that he has to make, I really loved him. And I found myself in the last episode or two really rooting for him to not kill Caesar. That was the thing. By the end of the show, I was like, why are they trying to kill Caesar? This is stupid. What? This is all just because Servilia is butthurt. It has nothing to do with saving the Republic or anything. I'll get to her in a minute. But Brutus, I did genuinely really like. I thought he was a very interesting character that I haven't spent a lot of thought or emotion on before. So I loved that they really dove deep into him and gave him a real struggle in his soul that he had to deal with. I thought it was interesting when he actually goes to stab Caesar. I thought that he was, because he drops the knife, and I thought, ooh, that's interesting. What if he never actually stabbed Caesar? Because they've already talked about earlier in that episode how people are using his name, right, in the graffiti all over the city. They're writing Brutus killed Caesar, and his mom is writing stuff in his name, and all the other rebels are using his name. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool if Brutus never actually betrayed Caesar and everybody just said he did, and then he was like, oh crap, everybody believes I did, even though I didn't. So I thought that would have been really cool to see him turn at the very last second and not be able to do it. So I was kind of disappointed when they do have him pick the knife back up and go stab him. And then they also didn't have the et tu, Brute moment, which I know, that's from Shakespeare. That's not in any historical record, so it probably didn't happen. But I thought it was an interesting choice that they left it out because it's cool. Like, Shakespeare put it in for a reason because it was cool, so why not go ahead and use it? But whatever. I mean, Julius Caesar did definitely give him a look that was very meaningful, and Brutus had a look that was very meaningful, so maybe they didn't need to say it, but I think I would have preferred it a little bit if that had been there, but again, that's just my opinion. Octavian, I really loved. I feel like they just about nailed Octavian. I do think there's a bit of a reputation in the ancient texts of him being a little bit sickly, and we never actually see him sick in the show, so I guess that's missing a little bit, but it didn't bug me. But generally, his just cleverness, his quietness, he's not assuming, he's not brash, he just notices what's going on, and he's very political in that way, but he's not a terrible person, right? He has loyalty to his friends and his family, but he's also definitely got a violent streak. He's definitely capable of doing some brutal stuff. So I thought they just struck the character and that perfect balance there. I was very happy with Octavian. One thing that I hated was, honestly, the incest scene and whole relationship between him and his sister. It felt very gratuitous. It felt like we're HBO and we need some siblings to fuck each other. It didn't feel like that didn't need to be there. That's not historical. And I don't have any problem with sex in the show or incest in HBO generally. It just felt like in this scene in particular, it was forced. You know, it didn't need to be there. It didn't need to be part of the story. So I felt like, this is gross and there's no reason for me to be, like, I don't need to watch this. This grossness contributes nothing to the show generally other than it being weird. So I didn't love that. Sorry to anybody who did. But otherwise I did. I really liked Octavian. Then some of the more side characters, Cato, Cicero, and all of them. I thought we're okay. I liked the actor who did Cicero. I just felt like they didn't give him anything to do. Like, Cicero is one of my favorite characters, and he didn't get to give a big speech or really participate. He was always just kind of like following everybody else around and saying, oh, I don't think so, and then they're kind of just disregarding his opinion a little bit. So I felt like he was a little bit weak as a character, and they didn't give him any moment to shine. And I would have appreciated just a little bit more for him. But he was generally a likable person, so I didn't hate him by any means. Then Cato, I liked. He was a grumpy old man, adorable as ever. I feel like they could have done a bit more in his suicide scene because there's such a great story of how he killed himself and how it all went down, and they sort of shortened it and condensed it. And I was like, you could have milked that one a little bit more. That could have been better. And I felt like they didn't take advantage of a great opportunity. And also, this isn't really connected to any particular character, but to a lot of characters generally, the Battle of Pharsalus was extremely disappointing. Like, I know they didn't have the budget to do a big battle scene, but it was just so crappily shot. I felt like I was watching like some PBS documentary from the 90s, just like very blurry, like a couple minutes of just, just like one guy, and I was like, either don't show it at all or give us a little something more. That was just a little bit cringe. I didn't love that. Finally, I want to complain about Servilia. I hate her so much, or Servilia, whatever. At the beginning, she seemed so likable. I was like, oh, she's cute. I like her and Caesar. This is great. And then he breaks up with her, and he's very mean. So at first, I was totally on her side, like, oh yeah, you know, hate that guy, curse him. I'm all about that. Let's do this. But then she seduces Octavia, which I'm like, again, that one felt a little forced. I felt like that kind of came out of nowhere and that didn't need to happen. But whatever, sure. But then she manipulates Octavia into sleeping with her brother. And I already said I thought that was unnecessary, that was weird. And that's also a very, very big taboo in ancient Rome and Greece. Siblings having sex was very bad. So for her to suggest that just sort of offhandedly, and especially since her character is supposed to be this more like conservative matron, her whole thing is that she is for the Republic and for Republican values, I didn't completely buy it. And if that was what she was doing, then it's just gross. Like, why? And then she is manipulating everybody. She's manipulating Brutus, and she is trying to get him to turn on Caesar. But again, if it had been, you know, because she loved the Republic, then I could be on board with that. But we saw at the beginning that she didn't side with the Republic. She sided with Caesar because he was her hubby. So she only really comes over to the Republic side because she hates Caesar. It's not because she loves the Republic. And yeah, the whole thing is just her being butthurt and wanting to get back at Caesar. And they have a plan to kill Caesar, but they don't have any plan for what's gonna happen after. She is mindful, I guess. She does say, you know, we can't kill other people, especially people that are popular with the people. We need to have the people on our side. So she has a little bit of awareness, but not enough, right? And we know from what actually happened that afterwards Brutus just had to run away. The people were very angry. They were not happy with what happened to Caesar, and he didn't have any follow-up plan. Like, Caesar wasn't the root cause of the problem. There had been civil wars and dictators in Rome for centuries at this point. So it's not like if you just get rid of this one dictator that you're not gonna have any problems anymore, right? There's just gonna be another dictator, there's gonna be another civil war. You have to come up with something else to replace Caesar, and they definitely don't. They just they don't think it through. They don't think, oh, well, if we replace Caesar, then we have to do X, Y, and Z so that we don't have any more dictators. And they're just like, no, we're just gonna kill Caesar and then everything will be fine. Like, no. And I'm a bit more of a pragmatic person, so I was definitely feeling like, yeah, Caesar's kind of being an ass, and he's definitely being manipulative and bribing people and executing people, so he's not great. But also, as far as dictators of Rome go, he's not bad. Like, if you read about Sulla or any of these other guys, like, Caesar is okay. And at least you haven't ended the war. At least he's doing something to help the people. You know, why not try to work with him? Like, Lucianus's whole arc where he doesn't want to be a politician. He doesn't want to be running in a fake election. He doesn't want to buy people off. But he also realizes, like, okay, but if I buy this one person off, then I can benefit these thousands of other people. And he's like, well, I hate it, but I'm going to do it. I feel like I have to. This is the right thing to do. And so I felt like his arc made so much more sense to me. Like, you could see his pain, you could feel his pain. I was like, oh yeah, that's justified. But ultimately, I think he makes the right decisions that, yeah, you should probably support Caesar at this point. Like, this is the best you're going to get, right? You're not going to get utopia. You got to function in the world you're in. So I guess that's kind of my personal views and feelings bleeding into the show. But I definitely was very annoyed with Servilia, I guess because of that. Thanks so much for watching my review of Rome. I'm interested to see what your thoughts and feelings were, and I'm excited to go watch season 2 now. I'll probably film that and get that up for you guys at the end of next month, end of June. So again, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to subscribers and to Patreon members. I hope to see you all again on the next Sunday. Karate.